Hello and welcome everybody. How you doing? This is Al Mamun Rasul with you, and today I'm excited that Amazon AWS and yesterday in reInvent has announced them a new no-code ML tool which is inside AWS SageMaker. And excited to explore it and check it with you. So without further ado, I want to go in and start building these things. But before doing this, because you got hitting this and you want to see it, firstly that um, I assume that when you go to no code solution, you already does not have a very good background in doing this kind of data project and so that you choosing to go to this solution. But there is some kind of simple fundamental that you have to understand is the overall workflow. So because I don't have any images here, I will go here in AWS SageMaker and show you what they do as a step, but I will go extensively on it. So the first thing that, let's go here. Okay, so the first thing that in any data project, before preparing there you have a step zero, which is data gathering, data acquisition. I don't know, maybe you have a web scrubber that's scrubbing a news and a tweet, and this script has to run somewhere and get the data, and this data has to be stored in some place. And there is different kind of work will be done on this data, depend on the job that you will do on the data, depend on what you're going to do, and depend on the data nature. There will you have a data pipeline which is cured by and take care by the data engineer. And by the end, these data engineer have to make sure that this data pipeline have some kind of very convenient way for the data scientists and ML researchers, though they can reach the data, consume it. Then while those consuming the data, they will start with them step one, which is that we have to prepare the data. What you going to do with the preparing the data? That maybe you're going to do some kind of transformation, some kind of exploratory data analysis, understand the data, seeing if there is a missing value, if there is some kind of outliers and extra things. Maybe you want to do some kind of feature engineering, some kind of a cleaning, and mostly this is the most time that you spend on the data, understand it, and the better you pre-process it, the better you go with your accuracy and other stuff. Then after this, there will come the building stage. That's what you will, or what I am call it a modeling. Most of us call it a modeling. What we doing with modeling? Modeling that you do the following: that you taking this pre-processed data, selecting appropriate machine learning algorithm, and train this algorithm. While you're training, what you're doing actually is that you take this pre-processed data, give it in a specific format that this algorithm expected and accepted, and then this algorithm has to find some kind of pattern or relation that make it easy for this algorithm to make a prediction. What I mean by, let's take example that you have NLP task called sentimental analysis, where you have some kind of text you want to predict if this tweet, let's say, a toxic or not. So what you're doing here, the algorithm will try to find the pattern between these and train on it. Depending on the algorithm, depending on the training, then you will have something called a model, which is that trained on this data and can predict if you give it a new text that is a similar or some kind but is not on the training set, you can expect this model to give you a prediction that this text is a toxic or not. When you complete your modeling part and validate your model and know that you select the best model that you have on your hand or the best few models, then you go to what we call it that deploying or inference. So what is the deploying or inference? That you build in some kind of say REST API that's containing your model that expected to have some kind of input, which is whether it's be a single value or a batch, and the model have to give you back a prediction if this text is a toxic or not based on our example. Also, you have other extra stuff like monitoring and make sure that the model is working and everything is okay. And you have to make sure that each step is a consistent modeler and can be automated for further, let's say, trigger and pre-training. Let's say you figure out there is a data drift or there is already having a concept drift that you have to deal with. Okay, this is the whole image that I want you to know because we going to need some kind of this little information while we go into Canvas. This is my first try on it, so we will explore together. So you have to have some kind of domain here. So for your work with Canvas, which is in SageMaker, you can create it if you're not, but because I have already domain in SageMaker itself, so it's not depending on Canvas, is that you have to create some kind of environment for yourself inside AWS SageMaker Studio. Now, what we're doing here, what we're waiting here is that the Canvas starting to loading and give us its UI that we can work with. So I expected this tool is to be very user friendly and to be very easy to approach. But why I have talked a lot about these fundamentals, because you're going to need it. Oh, you have to know the whole picture. I'm not expecting you to be you have a good in-depth coding and very good knowledge in the algorithm, but you have to know the whole picture about what you are doing. It is not just following the clicks, but it's about knowing what you're doing and what you expect from doing this. Now we're waiting it to load, and I hope that it can load faster. Okay, since this maybe will take a time, I will pause the video and resume it later when this completed, so we can get back while this has done. Okay, let's pause the video. Yes, and now we get back. So the first thing that we have an S3 bucket have to select from it our data. So I have not telling you about my data that if the data is now currently we are going to make a sentimental analysis model that will accept to take a text. This text is about natural disaster. So this is a Kaggle competition. This Kaggle competition is called NLP disaster from a tweet in Kaggle. I have downloaded the data, uploaded in S3 bucket. You expected to have your data already in S3, and this is the default for anything that you're going to work on AWS SageMaker. You expected to have it on Amazon AWS. So let's see that I have this data, which is a trained CSV, and I want to select it from the bucket that I have already mentioned, and then I'm going to import this data. Maybe I will also take the text. It's up to you. Now what we're going is this data is being pre-processing that I firstly have to start from this page on making a model. We know what is the model right now. Let's start. You can give it a name. Let's give it a quick. Okay. So we're expecting that we want to have this trained data. You have to select the data that you want to work with. And because you selected the data set, you have to see this here that is building. Now, it's asking you what is the target. What is meaning that what you're trying to predict. For us, what you're trying to predict is in this target column. So it's called the target, by the way. It's just a constant that this is a binary. The type of it's 0 or 1. So this is when you go into selecting this, let me get back to this old. I just want to show you. Now I want to select. I'm going to select the target from here. So it will reserve it for prediction. Now you have to select which which other columns that you want to use for non-predicting, which means that you will train your model on. So I will give the model a pure text and I expect it to give me a target. So I don't want the ID and I don't want the keyword and I don't want the location. Now it also has selected for us the problem type, which is binary classification. And you have 0 and you have this is that and also it's showing you that the number of the items also this is not very balanced data set, but it is okay. So this kind of information can help you further when you want to do extra stuff on this. And then it's also telling you how much there is missing in the data. So you have to know that these things have to be prepared. Now, if by mistake this model type is not what you expect, you can change it, and this is okay. But it's actually selecting the best fit for us, depending on the target. Now, you can do a preview for your model. It's try to generate one for you, and so it will quickly make one for you. And also that you can find these the correlations. I don't know why it's not showing, but it will show, of course, after we building a model. Yes, the feature important. That's what I'm missing. Now, the feature importance is being shown here because it's the only feature, but it is the highest related to. But it also need to have extra stuff that we can get from this. But we expecting that we are not doing any kind of thing. We're just doing clicks. Now, you have option to build. You have to build now a model. Either you standard way that you're building, training a model will take hours, or you do a quick model, it's very speed. You can start with the very simple model with about 2 minutes. Yes, we can go to the quick because the nature of the video. Now it's going to analyze this model and it's trying to build one for us. It will select the best model, the best algorithm, the thing that I don't mean best by best, but what is think is best for this case. And try to make some kind of a prediction. So it's already has to figure out this is a sentimental analysis, this is a text, and we want to predict the category of these texts. And it actually give us probably accepted result with a quick things. Okay. Now what we can do that since we have a model that has been ready, we can do prediction. As I mentioned before, there is you expect to have either batch or single prediction, as we mentioned before about the life cycle of these data projects things. So what is the batch is that you have a bunch of data that you want to predict on. We already have this test. We can make a prediction on it, and actually you can use it and upload it to Kaggle. If it is not a kernel-based competition, if it is just a CSV symbol competition, you can do it. Okay, and you can check your result. Why here? But here you can see what is the predicted result. Now this is the symbol, how simple it is, and this is a very simple approach. And also that if you see in here that since you already have a ready-made model, and as you selecting that this model has been done, if you want to make some kind of other stuff on it, you can add a version. That's okay. Also, let's checking how they do it. Let's see. Now, if I want to go, the data, we can select the train itself. But let's say that I want to change the output. So I wanted to make it based on keyword. I don't want to figure out the target. I want to extract keyword from the text. Of course, if this text is, or this data is made to be as a text extraction or keyword extraction or topic model, something like this. But as you can see here, that this is not allowed. This is not allowed totally. Why? Because you're doing a version based on a model. So this version expected to have the same behavior of the model, because if this is a new version, if it's going live, it will break things if its output different than the one that's expected. But if you want to make different models, so this is mean that you have to build a different model, not a different version. So you can go from here, make a new model, and make different data set or same data set with some different output and things like this. And for this that we end up, and thank you for watching me. See you in next videos.